In the dead of night, a cocky cop pulls over a luxury sedan, expecting an easy stop. But when he meets the driver, a federal judge with the power to flip his world upside down, his routine traffic stop becomes a viral nightmare that shakes a city to its core. This is the moment justice fights back. In the quiet, dimly lit streets of Bowie, Maryland, the clock ticks just past midnight, and the air carries the stillness of a late autumn night. A sleek black luxury sedan glides along a suburban road, its polished exterior reflecting the faint glow of streetlights. Behind the wheel is a driver whose identity remains unknown to the world at this moment, but whose presence will soon ignite a firestorm. The sedan moves with purpose, neither too fast nor too slow, adhering to the rules of the road with precision. Yet, something about it catches the attention of Officer Kyle Brenner, a young patrolman cruising in his marked police vehicle. His eyes narrow as he fixates on the car, his instincts, or perhaps his biases, prompting him to act. Without hesitation, he flicks on his red and blue lights. Their sharp flashes piercing the night, and signals for the sedan to pull over. Brenner, in his early 30s, carries the demeanor of someone eager to assert authority. His uniform is crisp, his badge gleaming under the dashboard lights. But there's a restlessness in his posture, a need to prove something. He's been on the force for a few years, long enough to feel confident in his routine, but not seasoned enough to question his snap judgments. The sedan, to him, seems out of place in this quiet neighborhood, a luxury car in the wrong context, perhaps, or driven by someone who doesn't fit his mental image of who should be behind the wheel. His reasoning isn't clear, even to himself, but it's enough to justify the stop. As the sedan eases to the side of the road, its hazard lights blinking in compliance, Brenner radios in the stop, his voice clipped and professional, though tinged with anticipation. The officer steps out his cruiser, his boots crunching softly on the asphalt. His body camera, standard issue for the Bowie Police Department, is active, capturing every moment in grainy detail. The footage will later become the centerpiece of a controversy. But for now, it's just another night on patrol. Brenner approaches the driver's side window, his flashlight in hand, casting a harsh beam into the sedan's interior. The window rolls down smoothly, revealing the driver, but Brenner's focus is on control, not observation. He launches into a standard script, his tone firm and commanding. "License and registration, please." There's no room for pleasantries, no acknowledgement of the late hour or the driver's compliance. His words carry the weight of someone accustomed to immediate obedience, someone who expects the stop to follow the familiar pattern of countless others. The sedan's driver, however, is not an ordinary motorist. The interior of the car, illuminated by Brenner's flashlight, reveals details that should give him pause. A judicial robe neatly folded on the passenger seat, a briefcase embossed with prestigious law firm's logo, and a demeanor that exudes calm authority. But Brenner, caught in the momentum of his own assumptions, presses forward. He repeats his demand for identification, his voice sharpening as he senses something unexpected in the driver's response or lack thereof. The driver's hands remain visible, resting calmly on the steering wheel, a deliberate gesture to de-escalate, but Brenner's posture stiffens. He's used to nervous compliance or defensive arguments, not this quiet confidence that seemed to challenge his authority, without a single raised word. The night air grows tense as the interaction unfolds. Brenner's flashlight beam wavers slightly, betraying a flicker of uncertainty, but he doubles down, his questions becoming more pointed. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" he asks, a standard line designed to elicit admissions or excuses. The driver's response, though not yet audible in the body cam audio that will later be dissected frame by frame, is measured, precise, and grounded in an understanding of legal rights that surpasses Brenner's own. The officer's brow furrows, his confidence shaken by the driver's refusal to fit into the expected narrative. He steps closer to the window, his hand resting near his utility belt, a subconscious gesture that signals his discomfort with the situation. This traffic stop, routine in Brenner's mind, is anything but. The sedan, the driver, the late hour, all of it converges to create a moment that will ripple far beyond this quiet street. The body camera continues to record, capturing the exchange in stark clarity. Brenner's escalating tone, the driver's unflinching composure, and the subtle power dynamic that begins to shift. The officer, unaware of who he's confronting, presses forward, oblivious to the fact that this stop will not end with a ticket or a warning, but with consequences that will unravel his career and spark a reckoning for the entire department. In these opening moments, the stage is set for a confrontation that will expose fault lines of power, prejudice, and accountability, all unfolding under the unblinking eye of a camera that will soon broadcast this encounter to the world. The driver of the sleek black sedan is Judge Monique Grant, a federal judge whose name commands respect in Maryland's legal circles. At 42, she stands as a trailblazer, one of the youngest black women to secure a federal judgeship, a role earned through a brilliant legal mind and unyielding dedication to justice. Her journey is one of triumph over adversity. Born in Baltimore to a single mother who juggled 2 jobs to provide for her, Grant's intellect shone early, earning her a scholarship to Howard University, followed by a stellar performance at Yale Law School, where she graduated at the top of her class. Her career is marked by resilience, navigating a legal system often hostile to those who share her identity. Colleagues regard her as formidable yet equitable, with a sharp ability to dismantle flawed arguments and a deep commitment to defending the marginalized. On this night, she drives home after a late court session, her judicial robe folded neatly on the passenger seat, a quiet emblem of her authority. The interior of her sedan reflects her meticulous nature, a leather-bound notebook, a monogram briefcase, and a faint scent of cedar from the air freshener. These details, caught in the harsh beam of Officer Brenner's flashlight, paint a picture of a woman whose life is defined by precision and purpose. Grant's composure is striking as she faces Brenner's demand for her license and registration. Her hands rest deliberately on the steering wheel, visible to prevent any misinterpretation, a gesture rooted in her acute awareness of how such encounters can spiral for black individuals. Her response is neither confrontational nor deferential, but exact, delivered with the clarity of someone who lives and breathes the law. She informs Brenner that she has committed no infraction, citing relevant statutes with ease, her voice carrying the authority of a courtroom. Grant's words are carefully chosen, designed to assert her rights while avoiding escalation. She questions the basis of stop, forcing Brenner to articulate his reasoning. This is not the reaction he anticipates, and it unsettles him. The judicial robe on the passenger seat should signal her identity, but Brenner either overlooks it or disregards its significance. To him, she is merely a driver, someone he expects to intimidate. Yet Grant is anything but typical. Her career is built on moments of standing firm, arguing before appellate courts, mentoring young black attorneys and challenging systemic inequities. She carries the quiet confidence of someone who has faced bias and emerged stronger, navigating spaces where her authority is often tested. This encounter is not just about her. Grant knows it carries broader implications. Her race and gender make her a target in ways her title cannot fully shield. She understands the weight of this moment, not only for herself but for countless others who face similar scrutiny without her platform. Her decision to remain calm is strategic, informed by a lifetime of experience. She knows the law better than most, having spent years interpreting and applying it. As Brenner presses her, her legal training guides her actions. She subtly reaches for her phone, preparing to record the interaction, a move born of foresight rather than impulse. She recognizes that evidence will be critical if the stop escalates, a reflection of her understanding of how truth can be distorted in the absence of proof. Grant's presence disrupts the power dynamic Brenner relies on. Her composure is not defiance, but a quiet assertion of authority, one that challenges his assumptions without a raised voice. She embodies a rare combination of intellect, poise, and moral clarity, qualities that propelled her to federal bench and now define her response to this unwarranted stop. Her actions are grounded in a deep sense of responsibility, not just to herself but to those who lack her voice. This moment, though personal, is part of a larger narrative, one of resistance against profiling, of holding power accountable, and of using her position to expose truths that might otherwise be buried. As Brenner's tone grows sharper, Grant remains unshaken. Her response is precise and legally sound. She knows her rights, and she exercises them with the confidence of someone who has spent her life mastering the law. This traffic stop, seemingly routine to the officer, is a pivotal moment for Grant, not because she seeks confrontation, but because she refuses to be diminished. Her identity as a black woman, a judge, and an advocate converges in this interaction, setting the stage for a reckoning that will extend far beyond this quiet Bowie street. The body camera, still recording, captures the beginning of a clash between prejudice and power, one that will soon resonate across a nation. Officer Kyle Brenner's decision to escalate the traffic stop marks a critical misstep, one rooted in a mix of inexperience, arrogance, and unchecked assumptions. At 32, Brenner is a relatively new officer in the Bowie Police Department, with just a few years on the force. His record shows a pattern of assertive stops, often justified by vague claims of suspicious behavior, but nothing has prepared him for the encounter unfolding on this quiet Maryland street. The body camera affixed to his uniform captures every detail, revealing a man confident in his authority, yet oblivious to the gravity of his actions. When Judge Monique Grant, calm and composed, responds to his demand for her license with precise articulation of her rights, Brenner's initial certainty begins to falter. Her judicial robe, visible on the passenger seat, and her measured tone should signal that this is no ordinary stop. But Brenner either misses these cues or chooses to dismiss them. Instead of de-escalating, Brenner doubles down. His voice, recorded clearly by the body cam, takes on a sharper edge as he repeats his demand for identification, now framing it as a challenge. He accuses Grant of suspicious behavior, a catch-all phrase that lacks specificity and betrays his reliance on instinct over evidence. The sedan's pristine condition, Grant's professional demeanor, and her clear compliance with keeping her hands visible do not align with his accusation. Yet he presses forward. His flashlight beam lingers on her face, an attempt to assert dominance. But Grant's unflinching gaze meets his without wavering. She reiterates her question about the reason for the stop, citing Maryland traffic law with a precision that exposes the flimsiness of his justification. Brenner's response is evasive, a mumbled reference to a possible traffic violation that fails to hold up under scrutiny. This moment reveals the depth of Brenner's miscalculation. Grant's legal acumen is not just a professional skill, but shield, one she wields with quiet authority. She knows the Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches and seizures better than most, and she applies them here with surgical accuracy. Brenner, however, interprets her assertiveness as defiance, a reaction that betrays his discomfort with being challenged, particularly by a black woman. His training, which emphasizes control and compliance, did not prepare him for a driver who knows the law better than he does. The body cam footage later shows his posture stiffening, his hand hovering near his utility belt, a subconscious signal of his growing unease. He demands to know why Grant is being difficult, a question that ignores her calm delivery and instead projects his own frustration. Brenner's failure to recognize Grant's identity as a federal judge is a pivotal error. The robe, the briefcase, her articulate responses, all are clues to her authority. Yet he barrels forward, driven by a need to maintain dominance. His assumption that he can intimidate her reflects a deeper bias, one that aligns with patterns of racial profiling that have long plagued law enforcement. Grant's race and gender, though unspoken in the moment, are impossible to ignore as factors in Brenner's approach. He does not see a judge. He sees a driver who does not fit his mental script of compliance, and this dissonance fuels his escalation. His tone grows more aggressive, accusing her of obstructing the stop, a charge that holds no legal weight given her cooperation and lawful questioning. The interaction, now stretching beyond a routine stop, becomes a power struggle that Brenner is ill-equipped to navigate. Grant's refusal to be cowed challenges his authority in a way he has rarely, if ever, experienced. Her knowledge of the law, coupled with her composed demeanor, exposes the fragility of his position. He could de-escalate, acknowledge the lack of probable cause, and let her go, but instead, he digs in, unaware that each word he speaks is being recorded, each action scrutinized by a camera that will soon broadcast his mistakes to the world. This stop, initiated on a hunch, is spiraling into a confrontation that will unravel his career and ignite a broader reckoning. Brenner's error is not just a personal failing, but a symptom of systemic issues within policing. His reliance on vague justifications, his quickness to escalate, and his dismissal of Grant's authority reflect patterns that have fueled distrust in communities of color. The body cam, still rolling, captures the moment where his arrogance meets an unyielding force, a judge who refuses to be diminished. This clash, rooted in Brenner's misjudgment, sets the stage for a fallout that will resonate far beyond this quiet street, exposing the consequences of unchecked power and the strength of those who stand against it. The traffic stop in Bowie, Maryland, reaches a critical juncture as Judge Monique Grant shifts the dynamic, transforming a routine encounter into a moment of profound consequence. Officer Kyle Brenner's escalating aggression, fueled by his inability to intimidate Grant, meets an immovable force in her calm, calculated response. The body camera, still recording, captures the pivotal shift as Grant, a federal judge with encyclopedic knowledge of the law, begins to assert her authority in a way that exposes Brenner's overreach. Her hands remain visible on the steering wheel, a deliberate gesture to maintain de-escalation, but her actions now take a decisive turn. With a steady hand, she reaches for her phone, activating its recording function to document the interaction. This move is not impulsive but strategic, rooted in her understanding that evidence is paramount in encounters where power imbalances can distort truth. Grant's decision to record marks the moment the stop begins to unravel for Brenner. She informs him, in a clear and measured tone, that she is documenting the interaction, citing her right to do so under Maryland law. Her words are precise, referencing specific statutes that protect her from unwarranted intrusion. The body cam footage later reveals Brenner's visible discomfort. His posture shifts, his flashlight beam wavers, as he realizes the encounter is no longer under his sole control. Grant's legal expertise shines through as she calmly recites the Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches, challenging Brenner to articulate a valid reason for the stop. Her question, repeated with unwavering composure, cuts through his vague accusations of suspicious behavior. Brenner's response, a faltering attempt to justify the stop with a claim of a possible traffic violation, crumbles under her scrutiny, lacking the specificity required to hold up legally. This is a turning point where Brenner's authority begins to erode. Grant's knowledge of the law is not just a defense but a weapon, wielded with surgical precision. She does not raise her voice or resort to confrontation. Instead, she uses the law itself to dismantle Brenner's assumptions. Her phone, now recording, captures her articulating the legal standard for probable cause, a standard Brenner has failed to meet. The body cam, synchronized with her footage, shows his growing unease as he struggles to respond. His earlier confidence, rooted in the expectation of compliance, is replaced by hesitation. He steps back slightly, his hand no longer hovering near his utility belt, a subtle admission that he is out of his depth. Grant's composure, paired with her legal acumen, forces him to confront the reality that he is not dealing with an ordinary motorist, but someone who commands authority far beyond his own. The significance of this moment extends beyond the immediate exchange. Grant's actions are informed by a lifetime of navigating spaces where her identity as a black woman invites scrutiny. Her judicial robe, still visible on the passenger seat, is a silent testament to her authority. Yet Brenner's failure to acknowledge it underscores the racial and gendered undertones of the stop. Grant's decision to record is not just about protecting herself, but about creating a record for others who face similar treatment without her platform. She knows that encounters like this, often dismissed as routine, can have devastating consequences for those without her resources or knowledge. Her calm insistence on her rights is a stand against a system that too often relies on intimidation rather than evidence. Brenner's missteps become glaring in this moment. His initial assumption that he could control the stop has been upended by Grant's refusal to be cowed. The body cam captures his faltering attempts to regain control, his voice betraying frustration as he accuses her of obstructing the interaction, a charge that holds no weight given her compliance and legal assertions. Grant's response, still calm, reiterates that she is within her rights to question the stop and to record it. Her words, delivered with the authority of a federal judge, expose the fragility of Brenner's position. He is no longer the sole arbiter of the encounter. The balance of power has shifted, and the recordings, both hers and the body cams, ensure that this moment will not remain confined to this quiet street. This turning point is the fulcrum of the entire incident. Grant's strategic use of her phone, her precise invocation of legal protections, and her unyielding composure transform the stop into a confrontation that Brenner cannot win. The footage, soon to be leaked, will reveal not just his overreach, but the broader implications of his actions. Grant's stand is not just for herself, but for every individual who has faced unwarranted scrutiny without the means to fight back. As Brenner hesitates, caught off guard by her authority, the stage is set for a reckoning that will ripple through the Bowie Police Department and beyond, exposing the consequences of unchecked power and the strength of those who refuse to be silenced. The traffic stop involving Judge Monique Grant and Officer Kyle Brenner takes a dramatic turn as the footage from both the body camera and Grant's phone escapes the confines of the Bowie Police Department, igniting a firestorm online. Within hours of the late-night encounter, the videos leak, their origins unclear, but their impact immediate and profound. The body cam footage, capturing Brenner's aggressive tone and vague justifications, juxtaposes starkly with Grant's calm, legally grounded responses, providing a raw, unfiltered view of the incident. Her phone recording, which she had the foresight to activate, adds another layer, offering a driver perspective that amplifies the power imbalance. Together, these videos become a digital bombshell, spreading across platforms like wildfire, with X at the epicenter of the explosion. The leak's timing is critical. By early morning, the footage surfaces on X, posted by an anonymous account with cryptic caption. This is what happens when power meets prejudice. The post gains traction rapidly, shared by users who recognize the significance of a black federal judge being subjected to an unwarranted stop. Hashtags like #JusticeForJudge and #BowiePDExposed begin trending, drawing thousands of views within hours. The videos are dissected frame by frame, with users pointing out Brenner's escalating hostility and Grant's unyielding composure. Comments flood in, ranging from outrage at the officer's conduct to admiration for Grant's legal acumen. The footage resonates deeply, tapping into broader frustrations with racial profiling and police overreach, issues that have long simmered in communities across the United States. The viral spread of the videos amplifies their impact far beyond Bowie. Local activists, already vocal about the department's history of questionable stops, seize on the footage as evidence of systemic bias. They share clips alongside statistics on disproportionate traffic stops targeting black drivers, framing Grant's experience as part of a larger pattern. National figures, including civil rights leaders and legal scholars, weigh in, praising Grant's restraint and condemning Brenner's actions. The video's clarity, both in audio and visual quality, leaves little room for ambiguity, making it difficult for defenders of police to spin the narrative. Grant's judicial robe, visible in the footage, becomes a powerful symbol, underscoring the absurdity of Brenner's failure to recognize her authority. The Bowie Police Department is caught off guard by the leak's speed and scale. Internal protocols for handling body cam footage, meant to keep such recordings confidential pending review, have clearly failed. Speculation swirls on X about the source of the leak. Some point to a whistleblower within the department, others to a hack, though no definitive evidence emerges. The department issues a brief statement acknowledging the incident and promising an investigation, but it does little to quell the growing outrage. The public's focus shifts to the department's broader practices, with users unearthing past complaints of racial profiling and excessive force. The videos become a catalyst, transforming a single traffic stop into a referendum on policing in Bowie. Grant's phone recording proves particularly damning. It captures her perspective, showing Brenner's flashlight in her face, and his increasingly defensive tone as she questions the stop's legality. Her measured recitation of Fourth Amendment protections, recorded clearly, resonates with viewers who see her as a symbol of resistance. The footage humanizes her, revealing the quiet strength of a black woman navigating a situation fraught with risk. Ex-users amplify this angle, sharing clips with captions like, "This is what power looks like," and "She schooled him with the law." The contrast between her composure and Brenner's floundering attempts to justify the stop fuels the narrative that this was not just a mistake, but an abuse of power. The leak's ripple effects extend to the national stage. News outlets pick up the story, with headlines emphasizing the clash between a federal judge and a local officer. Legal analysts on X and other platforms debate the implications, noting that Grant's status as a judge makes the incident particularly egregious. The videos spark discussions about the need for better police training, stricter oversight, and accountability for officers who rely on vague pretexts for stops. Community organizers in Bowie begin planning protests, using the footage as a rallying cry. The hashtags gain momentum, trending alongside other high-profile cases of police misconduct, amplifying the incident's visibility. The leak transforms the incident from a private encounter into a public spectacle, placing immense pressure on the Bowie Police Department. Brenner, unaware of the footage's release as he finishes his shift, is about to face a level of scrutiny he never anticipated. Grant, meanwhile, becomes an unwitting symbol of resistance, her actions resonating with those who have faced similar treatment without her platform. The videos, now viewed millions of times, ensure that this moment will not fade quietly, setting the stage for a reckoning that will challenge the department, reshape Brenner's career, and galvanize a movement for justice. The viral spread of the traffic stop footage involving Judge Monique Grant and Officer Kyle Brenner unleashes a cascade of consequences that reverberates through the Bowie Police Department and beyond. The videos, now viewed millions of times on X and picked up by national media, place Brenner and the department under intense scrutiny. The clarity of the footage, Grant's composed legal arguments juxtaposed against Brenner's baseless escalation, leaves little room for defense, thrusting the incident into the center of a broader conversation about police accountability and systemic bias. The fallout is swift, multifaceted, and unforgiving, reshaping Brenner's career, exposing departmental flaws, and amplifying calls for reform. Within hours of the leak, the Bowie Police Department announces an internal investigation into Brenner's conduct. The statement, issued via press release, is carefully worded, acknowledging the concerning nature of the footage while emphasizing a commitment to due process. However, the public's reaction on X and other platforms renders this response inadequate. Hashtags like #JusticeForJudge and #BowiePDExposed continue to trend, with users sharing clips alongside data on racial disparities in traffic stops. Activists cite studies showing black drivers in Maryland are disproportionately stopped and searched, framing Grant's experience as emblematic of a deeper issue. The department's history, including prior complaints of racial profiling, resurfaces in online discussions, fueling accusations that Brenner's actions were not an isolated error, but part of a systemic pattern. Brenner faces immediate professional repercussions. The department places him on administrative leave pending the investigation, a move that does little to quell public outrage. His personnel file, partially accessed through public records requests, reveals a history of aggressive stops, though none had previously garnered this level of attention. The footage paints him as unprepared and overzealous, his accusations of suspicious behavior exposed as pretextual. On X, users dissect his body language and tone, branding him as emblematic of unchecked police power. His career, once on a steady upward trajectory, now hangs by a thread, with legal experts speculating that termination or demotion is likely, given the public pressure and the clarity of his misconduct. The fallout extends beyond Brenner to the department's leadership. The chief of police, facing mounting criticism, holds a press conference to address the incident, but the effort backfires. Community members, galvanized by the footage, demand transparency about the department's policies on traffic stops and body cam protocols. Questions arise about how the videos leaked, with some on X speculating about internal dissent within the department. The lack of clear answers fuels distrust, as does the department's history of settling lawsuits related to excessive force. The incident becomes a lightning rod, drawing attention to training deficiencies and the need for stricter oversight of officer discretion. Community activists seize a moment, organizing rallies in Bowie to demand accountability. The footage of Grant, a black federal judge, calmly asserting her rights resonates deeply, particularly in communities of color. Her judicial status amplifies the outrage. If a figure of her stature can be subjected to such treatment, what hope exists for ordinary citizens? X posts amplify this sentiment, with users sharing personal stories of similar encounters, creating a digital archive of collective frustration. Civil rights organizations, both local and national, issue statements calling for federal oversight of the department, citing the incident as evidence of systemic bias. Legal scholars on news programs debate the implications, noting that Brenner's failure to recognize Grant authority underscores the dangers of implicit bias in policing. The incident also sparks policy discussions at the state level. Maryland lawmakers, pressured by the viral footage, proposed legislation to strengthen body cam accountability and limit pretextual stops. The videos become a reference point in debates about police reform, with Grant's composed invocation of her rights serving as a model for how to navigate such encounters. Advocacy groups use the incident to push for mandatory de-escalation training and stricter penalties for officers who violate protocol. The footage's clarity ensures that these discussions are grounded in undeniable evidence, making it harder for critics to dismiss calls for change as exaggerated. Brenner, meanwhile, becomes a pariah. His name trends alongside the hashtags, with ex-users creating memes that mock his falter responses to Grant's legal arguments. The public nature of his humiliation compounds the professional consequences, as colleagues distance themselves and community trust erodes. The department, under pressure to act decisively, faces a dilemma. Protecting Brenner risks further backlash, while sacrificing him could alienate other officers. The investigation, expected to include quickly due to the footage's clarity, looms over his future, with legal analysts predicting potential civil liability for the department if Grant pursues action. The fallout transforms the incident into a broader reckoning. The videos, now a symbol of resistance against unjust policing, galvanize a movement that extends beyond Bowie. Grant's experience, captured in stark detail, exposes the fragility of authority when confronted with truth, setting the stage for her to emerge as a powerful voice for those silenced by similar encounters. The department, caught in the crosshairs, braces for the consequences of a moment that has forever altered its trajectory. The viral footage of Judge Monique Grant's traffic stop by Officer Kyle Brenner catapults her into the national spotlight, not as a victim but as a formidable advocate for justice. As a federal judge, Grant possesses a platform few others in her position would have, and she wielded it with deliberate purpose, transforming a personal encounter into a powerful call for systemic change. Her response to the incident, marked by the same composure and legal precision she displayed during the stop, amplifies the voices of countless individuals who have faced similar injustices without recourse. Grant's stand is not about personal vindication, but about exposing the broader implications of unchecked police power, particularly for communities of color disproportionately targeted by such actions. In the days following the leak, Grant chooses to address the incident publicly, leveraging her authority to shift the narrative from an isolated event to a symptom of systemic issues. She organizes a press conference, strategically held outside the Bowie courthouse where she presides, to ensure maximum visibility. Her statement is a masterclass in restraint and clarity, focusing not on her own experience but on the countless others who endure unwarranted stops without the protection of her status. She cites data from the ACLU showing that black drivers in Maryland are stopped at rates far exceeding their white counterparts, often for vague reasons like suspicious behavior. Grant frames her encounter as a case study, highlighting how even a federal judge, armed with legal knowledge and a visible symbol of authority like her robe, was not immune to profiling. Her words resonate deeply, amplified by the viral footage that continues to circulate on X and other platforms. Users share clips of her press conference alongside the original videos, praising her for using her platform to advocate for the marginalized. Hashtags like #JusticeForJudge evolve into #JudgeGrantSpeaks, reflecting her emergence as a symbol of resistance. Grant's stand is rooted in her lifelong commitment to equity, forged through years of navigating a legal system where black women are often underrepresented. Her career, marked by landmark rulings on civil rights cases, has always been about amplifying the silenced, and this moment is no exception. She calls for specific reforms, mandatory bias training for officers, stricter oversight of traffic stop protocols, and transparency in body cam footage handling. Grant's decision to speak out carries personal risk. As a federal judge, she operates in a world where neutrality is expected, and her public stance could draw criticism from those who argue she is politicizing her role. Yet, she navigates this delicately, framing her advocacy as a defense of constitutional protections rather than a partisan issue. Her legal expertise shines through as she references Fourth Amendment violations in her case, urging lawmakers to address the loopholes that allow pretextual stops to persist. On X, legal scholars and activists alike commend her for balancing her judicial duties with moral clarity, noting that her status gives her words unique weight in a debate often dominated by abstract arguments. The press conference galvanizes community response. Local organizers in Bowie, already mobilizing protests, invite Grant to speak at rallies, though she declines to maintain judicial propriety. Her influence is felt nonetheless, as her statement inspires grassroots campaigns demanding accountability from the Bowie Police Department. Ex-users share her words alongside personal stories of police harassment, creating a digital tapestry of shared experiences. Grant's stand empowers those who lack a platform, giving voice to the frustration communities long ignored. Her race and gender, central to the incident's context, make her advocacy particularly resonant, as she acknowledges the intersectional challenges Black women face in encounters with law enforcement. Grant also engages with broader policy implications. She writes an op-ed for a major newspaper, outlining how systemic bias in policing undermines public trust and erodes constitutional protections. The piece, widely shared on X, calls for federal guidelines on traffic stops and independent audits of police departments with histories of complaints. Her arguments, grounded in legal precedent and statistical evidence, gain traction among policymakers, with Maryland legislators citing her case in discussions about reform bills. The footage of her stop, paired with her articulate advocacy, becomes a powerful tool for change, difficult for opponents to dismiss. Her stand reshapes the narrative around the incident. Rather than being defined as a victim, Grant emerges as a leader, using her authority to challenge a system that failed her and countless others. The public response on X reflects this shift, with users calling her a hero for justice and sharing her quotes as rallying cries. Her actions inspire a new wave of activism, particularly among young Black professionals who see her as a model of resilience. The fallout from her stand places sustained pressure on the Bowie Police Department, ensuring that the incident will not be swept aside. Grant's voice, amplified by her platform and the viral footage, becomes a beacon for those demanding accountability, proving that one encounter can spark a movement when met with unwavering resolve. The viral footage of Judge Monique Grant's traffic stop by Officer Kyle Brenner ignites a transformative movement that extends far beyond the quiet streets of Bowie, Maryland, reshaping public discourse and galvanizing action on police accountability. The incident, captured in stark detail by body cam and phone recordings, becomes a catalyst for change, exposing systemic flaws in law enforcement and inspiring a groundswell of activism. The clarity of Grant's composed resistance against Brenner's unwarranted aggression resonates deeply, turning a single encounter into a symbol of broader societal issues. The ripple effect touches every level, from local protests to national policy debates, demonstrating the power of one moment to challenge entrenched systems of prejudice and authority. In Bowie, the community response is immediate and robust. Activists, energized by the footage, organize protests outside the police department, demanding accountability for Brenner and systemic reform. The rallies, widely covered on X, draw hundreds of residents, many sharing personal stories of similar stops, amplifying the incident's relevance. Hashtags like hashtag Judge Grant Speaks and hashtag End Profiling trend alongside images of signs reading Justice for All, not just judges. Community leaders cite the incident as evidence of long-standing issues within the department, pointing to data showing Black drivers are stopped at disproportionate rates in Maryland. The protests, peaceful but resolute, pressure local officials to act, with the mayor publicly committing to review police protocols, a direct response to the public outcry fueled by the viral videos. The incident's impact reaches state and national levels. Maryland lawmakers, spurred by the footage and Grant's subsequent advocacy, introduced legislation aimed at curbing pretextual stops. The proposed bills shared and debated on X include measures for stricter oversight of traffic stops, mandatory bias training, and public access to body cam footage. Legal scholars reference Grant's case as a textbook example of Fourth Amendment violations, using it to argue for federal guidelines on policing practices. The videos, now embedded in news segments and policy discussions, serve as undeniable evidence, making it difficult for opponents to dismiss the need for reform. Advocacy groups like the NAACP amplify the incident, citing it in calls for a federal task force on racial profiling. On X, the footage becomes a rallying point for broader conversations about systemic racism. Users share the clips alongside statistics, such as a 2023 report showing Black drivers in Maryland were 2.5 times more likely to be stopped than white drivers. The platform becomes a space for collective storytelling, with thousands posting about their own encounters with police, creating a digital movement that extends the incident's reach. Influential voices, from civil rights activists to celebrities, boost the signal, ensuring the story remains in the public eye. The hashtag Justice for Judge evolves into a broader call for accountability, with users demanding not just punishment for Brenner, but systemic change to prevent similar incidents. The Bowie Police Department faces sustained scrutiny. The leak of the footage exposes weaknesses in their body cam protocols, prompting calls for independent audits. Community forums, organized in response to the protests, reveal a deep distrust of the department, with residents citing past incidents of excessive force and profiling. The department responds by announcing new training programs, but these are met with skepticism, as activists on X argue that cosmetic changes fall short without structural reform. The incident forces the department to confront its history, with local media uncovering settled lawsuits related to racial bias, further eroding public trust. Grant's stand amplifies the movement's momentum. Her press conference and op-ed, widely shared online, inspire young activists, particularly Black women, who see her as a model of resilience. On X, her image, calm, authoritative, and unyielding, becomes a symbol of resistance, with users creating graphics pairing her quotes with the footage. Her call for reform resonates in academic circles, where law professors use the case to teach about constitutional protections and implicit bias. The incident's visibility ensures that it remains a reference point in discussions about policing, with Grant's actions demonstrating the power of informed resistance. Nationally, the ripple effect influences policy debates. Civil rights organizations leverage the footage to push for federal legislation, such as the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which gains renewed attention. The incident underscores a need for national standards on use of force and traffic stop protocols, with lawmakers citing Grant's experience as a wake-up call. The videos, now a cultural touchstone, are screened at town halls and cited in congressional hearings, ensuring the incident's lasting impact. The ripple effect transforms Bowie and beyond, proving that one encounter, when amplified by truth and resolve, can challenge the system. The footage, Grant's advocacy, and the public's response create a movement that demands accountability, not just for Brenner, but for every officer who abuses power. The incident becomes a reminder that silence carries consequences, and when met with resistance, it can spark a revolution that reshapes a city, a state, and a nation's conscience. This moment changed everything. A single traffic stop exposed the truth about power, prejudice, and accountability. Judge Monique Grant's stand isn't just her fight. It's a wake-up call for all of us. Don't let this story end here. Share this video to keep the conversation alive. Join the movement on X using hashtag Justice for Judge to demand reform. Speak up, get involved, and push for change in your community. Together, we can ensure no one is silenced. Act now, because justice doesn't wait. Subscribe, share, and let's make a difference.